Okay, Queen, what do we got? I'm saying this woman is a queen only because of the 6 video titles I read.
You're prejudging big. What about if she turns out not to be a queen?
Then she's not a queen and it's bullshit. I saw those video titles were pulling me both ways, so let's see. Good luck.
Hi, it's Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. You're tuned into Why America? I'm Legia Miller in Minneapolis. In the wake of violent killings at the hands of ICE and Border Patrol here in Minneapolis, there have been growing calls, not only from Democrats, but also from some Republicans, to abolish ICE. But what does that mean? And what would that actually look like in practice? Similar to the catchphrase, abolish the police, the idea of abolishing ICE leaves many fearing that the outcome would be increased chaos, roves of lawless criminal immigrants wandering the streets, and a complete lack of law and order. So what are
Cross Joe Biden, I love you, buddy. Thank you for the dono of $10.
the practical implications of abolishing ICE? And would it really do anything? That's what I'm examining today. First, the latest updates on the ground here in Minneapolis. Trump got on the phone with both our governor, Tim Walz, and Mayor Jacob Frey, and all parties confirmed that they were at least not hostile discussions. The media has taken that and ran with it, claiming the Trump regime has changed its tone on Minneapolis, especially considering the fact that they moved Border Patrol villain Greg Bovino out and brought Elmer Fudd lookalike contest winner and alleged bag of cash recipient Tom Homan in to replace him. Now, of course, Bovino plays the role of villain in his military fatigues and with his gas.
This was just so, especially with the greater context now of how fucking disgusting all of the ICE shit has been. Like, this is such a fascinating mind fuck of a thing to explain to anybody who doesn't know anything about American politics. Like, this, like, to sit down, and I'm being 100% serious, okay? I'm not exaggerating or hyperbolizing anything. Like, what are you watching here? So we're watching on Fox News, okay, which is a network where basically every single major news host was in bed, metaphorically, with the Trump campaign to try to convince America that the 2020 election was fraudulent. Okay, we know all of this, the outcome of the Dominion case. Okay, we know that. Okay, so on this network, on Fox News, okay, we have the sitting mayor of New York City. So he kind of scammed the city by using a Turkish dude to basically abuse a bunch of the public funding for votes. And he was being kind of investigated and prosecuted for it. He was probably fucked on this. But the president of the United States sent his attorney general to this guy and said, hey, buddy, we'll suspend actually all of those charges until the re-election. Okay? And Eric Adams said, okay. And then they sent Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, to Fox News, which is the propaganda network for the president, Donald J. Trump, along with their border czar, to talk about how excited they were to cooperate on immigration-related issues. This is just unbelievable. And this is like a blip in the last year. Nobody even remembers any of this shit. It's just like, it's unbelievable. I don't even bring up the 50K bribe or whatever from Homan because I don't even know anything about it. I didn't even look into it. I would just guess it's real, whatever. Or I'm sure other people report on it. I don't think there's like contention or whatever. So I'm not even getting into how fuck that is. But
Canister throwing better than Tom Homan, who looks like Petty from Bob's Burgers, like truly the cartoonish definition of a dope. But as someone who lives every single day in Minneapolis, I can't say sending in the border czar gives me the warm, fuzzy feelings of safety and security that the media are peddling as an easing of tensions in Minnesota. Oh, so I can stop driving around in negative 20-degree weather with my windows down because I can't tell if what I'm hearing is regular honking or ice honking or real whistles or phantom whistles that my mind is making up. That's great news. Tom Homan's in town. Wow, immediate.
I'm sorry. And listen, I am the bootlicker. My community knows that I'm the bootlicker. These are the only things we see. These are only what we see recorded. This whole thing of like fucking cars pulling in front of you and like masked people jumping out to get you. This is based, okay? If we're talking about going after like international drug cartels that are dismembering people and engaged in like fucking all sorts of high crimes and international sex crime and everything else. For a person who might have overstayed a visa over a legal, are you fucking serious? This is the best utilization of our federal funds, our time, everything else. And then for how many citizens are they terrorizing on this stuff that we now see? They can't even follow their own release orders in a timely or actual manner.
Immediate nervous system release. I'm cured. Fight or flight, never heard of her. The reality on the ground in Minneapolis is that last I checked, we still have 3,000 plus ICE and Border Patrol officers terrorizing the streets and attacking.
At least with Tren de Aragua. Now, this is my guess. I could be wrong. I've never lived with gangs before. My understanding is as long as you don't fuck with the gang, they won't come after you. I don't know if the same can be said for fucking ICE, okay? I don't know if the same can be said for that. I might be too brown for them. I don't know if Nicaragua kills people based on their skin color. But the Supreme Court said that ICE can take you and rip you out of your vehicle and ship you to fucking El Paso and then ship you to another fucking country, maybe, or maybe bring you back, or maybe ship you somewhere else, or maybe release you from jail, or maybe not.
On the ground in Minneapolis is that last I checked, we still have 3,000 plus ICE and Border Patrol officers terrorizing the streets and attacking protesters and immigrants alike. Literally yesterday, the country of Ecuador reported ICE tried to forcibly enter its consulate here in Minneapolis. Like, just because the influencers
Jesus Christ
have gone back to LA and the media mobs don't have a murder to cover today doesn't mean we're experiencing.
Gangs are also aware of the optics of things. They don't fuck with tourists, for example. Yeah, no shit. We've seen that before. You want to put me in front of a Mexican cartel? As a white American who doesn't do drugs or fuck around with any shit? I guarantee you they will get me from from north to south, wherever the fuck I want to go, without any of them killing me. Maybe someone else might rob me. But we watched this on stream before, right? And these guys thought, my guess is they thought these dudes were competitor drug runner people or gay people or whatever. Or not gay people, they were gay people. People who were up to no good.
Jesus, go.
You mean south to north? No, north to south. I need to get the fuck out of here.
No, please, what? Please. Please, what? Please, what? No, Espanol, please. We're just...
No problem. Okay, no problem.
Please.
You will.
Por favor.
¿Dónde vas?
Sí, han perdido los chavos.
Hey, vamos,
Please.
no problem, okay?
I'm about to pass
No
out.
problem, okay, no problem.
Logan, don't. It's okay,
Oh,
it's okay,
hey,
it's okay.
No problem, okay?
Like, these guys are rolling around in AKs expecting that they might have to do battle with other drug runners or other gang members or whatever, right? That's what they're going into with, right? Do you think that's the average ICE encounter?
What?
How is it that...
Can we go?
Well done.
Oh my god. Please,
Yeah,
por favor.
no, okay. Hey, no. Peace.
No pasa nada.
No problem. Hey,
Okay.
peace, okay? Hey, ¿dónde? Cancún. ¿Dónde?
You okay?
We're gonna see mi madre,
You where?
Cancun.
You? Sí, no problem.
No problem.
Hold on, I'm waiting for the...
No pasa nada.
Tranquilo, pero...
No pasa nada.
What's your name?
Aaron.
What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron.
See.
You?
Logan,
Edwin.
what's your name?
Philip.
Hello?
No
Can
problem.
you speak English a little?
A little.
Please don't kill us.
Me, Las Vegas.
Like, how is that interaction?
Woman is driving down the Minneapolis
Who's
street,
scarier?
and cars are swerving wildly to cut her off. And what does she do? She's so lawless. Oh my God, she's so lawless. How could she hate the law so much that she starts calling the police? Think about this.
This is one
In
of many.
America,
What the fuck? This is some Sicario shit. I haven't even seen the movie, but I've seen the bridge or whatever. What the fuck? That's crazy. In an unmarked car? In an unmarked car? Well, maybe did they have their lights on before? In an unmarked car? What the fuck?
look at these thugs. Look, and he comes out with a gun
Like,
and he gets in front of the car. They're pointing the gun. They're telling her to come out. They're yelling at her. So
I would fight with that there. They're actually not in front of the car. Crazy how he's actually totally wrong on that. Notice how they actually don't step in front of the car because they think she might
Look
drive
at
away.
these
Notice how they all move to the side on that? Kind of crazy, huh?
thugs. And he gets in front
But-
of the car. They're pointing the gun. They're telling her to come out.
It also feels like I'm in like a shitty TV show. Like, is that really, do the police vests really just say police in capital letters? I feel like I'm in a show where it's like, oh, do you want a Popsy to drink? No, I want a Cake of Kayla or whatever. I need the off-brand, the friendly fucking copyright-free, no infringement brand.
They're yelling at her. So what does she do? She's desperately calling the police, desperately asking people to call 911. You from what shooter military.
This is
Obviously.
this is like you're getting swatted, right? Like depending on the call, they don't even get called. What am I even saying? They're not here to enforce that shit. That's not what they're doing. ICE is here to do deportations. That's their job. They're not here to fucking apprehend violent fucking criminals. I don't even know why these fucking losers have guns. They should have like single shot pistols or whatever. You get one shot. If you miss, then fuck you. You shouldn't even be in situation. Maybe that will make you consider more like where you're at. Was a single shot 22 or whatever, or 20, like you don't even get, what do you, this is not your job, motherfucker. Oh my God. This is crazy. Sorry.
Peace and freedom in Minneapolis, just so we're clear. The mission is still mass deportation of anyone who's brown or looks or sounds like an immigrant. They are not letting up. They are just shifting and re-strategizing, but it doesn't end here.
Also, what she said there was not an exaggeration. That was what the Supreme Court found. If they look or sound like an immigrant, especially if they're doing an immigrant job, that was a Supreme Court ruling, then they're allowed to ask them for their papers and shit. Fuck you. That's insane to me. Insane to me. That you might be able to demand, really of anybody, but of an American citizen, because they're brown and because they're roofing, that you might be able to demand their papers? Wait, if you spend too much time out in the sun and you got a Hispanic background, you have to carry your fucking birth certificate around? That's unbelievable to me. In the United States of America, if a cop doesn't have probable cause or reasonable suspicion, you'll be able to tell them to fuck off and keep walking. That's crazy.
In fact, a number of right-wing commentators are foaming at the fucking mouth for the bloodlust to continue. The Freedom Caucus in the House sent a letter to Trump urging him not to back down in Minnesota. Even CNN has an on-air news anchor, Scott Jennings, who won't even admit that the killing of Alex Preddy was wrong. The rot is fucking deep in this country. It is putrid, and it's not going anywhere. One way that some people are calling for the rot to be rooted out is by abolishing ICE. But what does that mean? Do we need ICE? Won't that lead to freewheeling immigration with no ability to crack down? How will we enforce federal laws without them? Turns out the proposition of doing away with ICE is more complicated than a short soundbite or clickbaity news headline can manage to explain. So let's talk about it. This headline from CNN about this story helped inform my reporting. Top White House aide Stephen Miller acknowledges possible...
Every Friday here in Minnesota, we're having no work protests against ICE. Not fun for me as a manager, but basis fucking totality. Here, this is my take on it. And I don't know if somebody's written on this or if there's like some civil rights person or whatever that knows how to do these things more effectively. In my mind, protests or strikes, I mean, it's good to do something rather than nothing. But I feel like a much more effective thing would be a targeted strike on a certain industry that's essential, with mutual aid set up to fund the people indefinitely. Like imagine if you raised like $10 million in some fund with somebody that could be trusted in order to continue paying like what would have been the wages of every single person striking from a local airport or whatever. I think for some of these, I think it's actually legal to strike. I don't give a fuck. They pay their legal fees too or whatever. Like I think that type of thing, it would be felt immediately. And you can't, and it wouldn't be a thing like, okay, well, when they stop striking, they'll buy all the shit again, it'll be fine. Like that would be a thing that would be massively disruptive. And then you could fund the people, you could raise the money to fund the people to continue that strike. So it's not like they have to think like, oh God, my families are going to starve or whatever. But maybe there's reasons why people don't do targeted strikes like that or something too. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Breach of protocol before Alex Preddy's shooting. Using the Ground News browser extension, I can get helpful background information on this publication in one quick glance. To get the big picture, I can click on full coverage, which will show me coverage of the same story from publications across the political spectrum. My partner on today's video, Ground News, is an app and website that offers tools to help you critically analyze the news you read, providing context to understand the full picture. You can follow powered by story. It would be a better place on the place if everyone had this much context about the news they read. Because depending on where you or your family members get the news, you're going to get very different takes on the same story. And I'm not the only one who loves Ground News. The Nobel Peace Center even called it an excellent way to stay informed, avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview. I'm always really impressed with Ground News and genuinely think they're a great resource. If you want to stay informed on US politics and more, subscribe through this QR code or my link below at ground.news/Legia for 40% off this unlimited access Vantage plan. That comes out to $5 a month for unlimited access to all the features I've mentioned. Thanks, Ground News. The Department of Homeland Security, home to ICE, Border Patrol, and numerous other sub-agencies, is a relatively new thing, and a lot of the basis of our current system for immigration enforcement was created in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. In 2002, the Homeland Security Act consolidated 22 federal departments into the new Department of Homeland Security, creating Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, meaning that the current scheme for managing illegal immigration, including ICE, is just over 20 years old. Bush also signed the Enhanced Border Security and Visa Entry Reform Act in 2002 and the Secure Fence Act of 2006, all in an effort to give the government as much power as possible to detain immigrants, often without due process or a trial. This was all in the name of fighting terrorism, as some of the perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks had been on U.S. soil for a while prior to the attacks. You can see this in the militarization of ICE and CBP, and you see it in the rhetoric they use to talk about immigrants. After 9/11, the rhetoric tying immigration to terrorism and national security was ratcheted up to the point that Americans became terrified of violent thug terrorists around every corner, despite falling crime rates across the board and despite numerous studies that show that immigrants commit fewer crimes than native-born Americans do. So with such a relatively new agency like ICE handling a lot of immigration in this country, it can be really easy to say, well, let's just abolish ICE. It hasn't been around that long. It's completely out of control.
I don't think we do these expensive pointed strikes because there's literally no source figure. We could crowdfund for it. If people thought it was effective, I bet you could raise millions of dollars off of that. Absolutely.
Let's just get rid of it. But as I've researched the abolish ICE movement, I found relatively few suggestions from the people pushing to abolish ICE about what happens after the agency is defunded. Because an examination of our history indicates that just defunding one...
Like, what does this mean? DHS has launched wow.dhs.gov so Americans can see the criminal, illegal aliens we are arresting, their crimes, and the communities we remove them from. Yesterday, IceGov arrested more murders. Why are you arresting murders? And why are you arresting? That's not even your fucking job. Put the border in the bag, bro. You're here to process deportation. It's not your job to go fucking arrest people. That's what the state cops are for. Or if you want to do federal, get the FBI or whatever involved. You retarded fucks. Like actual... Sorry. Fuck. I was going to play Arc Raiders. I need to get off. It's 9:37. I need to get the fuck... God, I hate politics.
One agency won't create the sea change you think it might. Like I said, the rot is fucking deep in this country. Now, I'm plagiarizing myself a bit. I released a video back in 2023 called Why Conservatives Hate Immigrants that contained a lot of this same history, but I think it bears repeating today. Because the history of immigration enforcement in this country wasn't exactly warm and fuzzy prior to the creation of ICE, and so successful reforms will never include quick fixes. For as long as immigration has existed in this country, there has been anti-immigrant sentiment. The first naturalization laws passed by white people to allow more white people to enter and live in the land they had stolen from other people just a few years prior, those laws were actually pretty straightforward and liberally allowed the entrance of immigrants into the country in an effort, according to Thomas Jefferson, quote, to produce rapid population by as great importations of foreigners as possible. That sentiment didn't last long, though. The Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798 were passed in the face of looming war with France, an effort to increase residency requirements to acquire national citizenship, allowing deportation of immigrants deemed dangerous to the peace and safety of the United States or who were enemies of the nation, and limiting freedom of speech and criticism of the government. And that fear of immigrants as posing a threat to national security and our sense of nationhood has persisted. As I go through this history, you will notice a similar trend. Opening of immigration when it suits the powers that be, and then mostly increased closing of borders and fewer options depending on whomsoever was deemed the scum of the earth, the shithole countries of the era. Throughout the 1800s, developments in Europe include...
Are you going to watch Isaiah's Jubilee episode of Fault? Maybe. I don't know, man. The one thing I need to see less of, I'm not going to do another ban spree in my community. The lefties rod has got to go. I don't know how every single, I'm sorry, it's true as a fucking, I don't know why this even came to my brain. Every space, even when people are owning MAGA, all these spaces get infested by fucking lefties. We have to fight back. Are there any liberal subreddits on all of Reddit besides like mine and neoliberal? And I guess the fucking H3H3, as political as they may or may not be. I feel like every other fucking space is infested by these tanky fucks, by these disgusting fucking losers taking money from China and Qatar. What's next? Is Hassan going to go give fucking speeches in St. Petersburg and fucking Moscow? He's going to be taking photographs in the Kremlin? Oh, God.
Including the Irish potato famine, or genocide, depending on who you talk to, of 1845, and political revolutions pushed numerous German and Irish Catholic immigrants to the United States, increasing the number of immigrants from 600,000 in the 1830s to 1.8 million a decade later. Nativists at the time, those in favor of limiting immigration, warned of wage competition, immigrant abuse of the welfare system, and religious clashes between the Catholic immigrants and mainly Protestant U.S. population. That was, of course, until the Civil War created high demand for workers in the war industries. To encourage immigration, Lincoln passed the Homestead Act and the Contract Labor Act to offer land and jobs to qualified immigrants. Qualified being the key term there, giving rights only to free white people and notably to Africans and people of African descent. The passage of the 14th Amendment granted citizenship to all people born or naturalized in the United States. But for decades, the federal government held the position that the 14th Amendment didn't apply to certain immigrants, such as Chinese immigrants and their descendants, many of whom built the railroads and industry that allowed the United States to flourish in the 1800s. The strength of anti-Chinese sentiment is evident not only in Congress's interpretation of the 14th Amendment at the time, but also through the passage of the Page Act of 1875 and the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, restricting immigration of Chinese laborers, most Chinese women who were all apparently assumed to be sex workers, and creating general blanket bans on immigrants from China. In 1889, the Supreme Court's decision in Chai Chan Ping versus United States supported this anti-immigrant sentiment, saying that Chinese laborer immigration was in numbers approaching the character of an Oriental invasion. Into the 1900s, nativists argued that immigrants impeded the American ability to achieve an ideal society. They committed crimes, abused the welfare system, and required that native-born Americans, white Americans that is, be protected from the lowering immigrant classes. It was during the turn of the 20th century when eugenics and race science took hold, with many scientists, academics, and doctors believing that certain...
Why is someone donating $500 to a guy who refuses to cover the Epstein files? What do you mean? He's donating $500 to me so I don't cover the Epstein files.
ethnicities possessed immutable characteristics that prevented assimilation into American society, cherry-picking data to propose that immigrants from Northern and Western Europe were innately superior to those from Southern and Eastern Europe, ignoring the numerous Northern and Western Europeans who were criminals and depended on the welfare system. They administered so-called intelligence tests to prove the intellectual inferiority of black Americans and new immigrants, intentionally including an overrepresentation of mentally handicapped people in their tests. This led to the passage of the Emergency Quota Act of 1921, which established for the first time caps or quotas on the number of immigrants from each region, favoring Western and Northern European immigrants and giving special exemptions for family members of U.S. citizens, with the assumption that the family member exemption would be mostly used by Western and Northern Europeans. And these laws were bipartisan and widely popular because of the pervasive nativist messaging that promoted nationalism, eugenics, and xenophobia. The U.S. Border Patrol was established in the 1924 Immigration Act. Louis Beam, a prominent white nationalist, helped train KKK members to implement the Klan Border Watch to target immigrants crossing the Texas-Mexico border, inspiring border vigilantes to this day. Due to these new laws and the economic downturn of the Great Depression, immigration plummeted in the 1930s. And then World War II came along.
Oh my God. Do you remember how fucking cringe it was? Was it in the first Trump term when some people were like, I'm going to go enforce the border on my own? They got in their trucks, they got their guns. Oh, we were border enforcement. They had like their own little names. Oh my God, dude. Get me out of here, bro. Holy fuck.
And really complicated our views on immigration. In the years leading up to the war, nativists in the United States had controlled the conversation enough that very few Jewish refugees were allowed into the country. After the war, when the horrors of the Holocaust were discovered and the U.S. had to face its role in turning its back on refugees, new laws were passed specifically pertaining to refugees seeking asylum in the United States. Refugee laws have, of course, been significantly rolled back by Trump. In the 1950s, the Bracero program created a simple pathway for Latin American immigrants to enter the country legally and obtain work, especially in the industrial and agricultural industries that needed low-wage labor during the post-war boom. The creation of a simple pathway for legal entry meant that the number of removals and apprehensions at the border plummeted by 1955.
True. Blast from the past. What happened to the border wall? The wall just got 10 feet higher. Oh, yeah? Like the budget is going to be $10 billion smaller after Doge gets through? How can you fuck up so much? Dude, it truly is. Everything Trump says is truly...
Reality can be whatever I want.
Unbelievable. This is the deal maker. Which ones? What deals? Oh, I see what deals. Oh, thank God. Yes! My kings! Who's running shit? Yes! Leave Iran now. Have a plan for departing Iran that does not rely on U.S. government help. Flight cancellations and disruptions are possible with little warning. Check directly with your airlines for updates. If you cannot leave, find a secure location within your residence or another blah, 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 blah. Nice. Netanyahu wants us to go.
Border Patrol official at the time warned that if the Bracero program was ever repealed or a restriction placed on the number of Braceros allowed to enter the United States, we can look forward to a large increase in the number of illegal alien entrants into the United States. And of course, that very thing happened in 1964 when Congress canceled the Bracero program in response to political pressure from labor unions who claimed their members were being undercut by cheap immigrant labor. As a result, illegal immigration surged again because Congress failed to replace the program with another guest worker visa program. Ending the Bracero program didn't end immigration into the United States, it simply made it illegal. Interestingly, during this time, many Republicans were actually in favor of immigration because of the cheap labor it provided for big business. The post-civil rights movement era saw a shift away from outwardly xenophobic language to a focus on numbers and population. John Tanton, an ophthalmologist from Michigan who was also a eugenicist, pioneered the rise of using immigration as a political tactic to lobby Congress and get people to the polls. He founded a number of organizations that effectively lobbied and testified against immigration, including the Federation for American Immigration Reform, or FAIR, which still exists today. The organization's website prides itself on not being a racist organization, just one that protects the U.S. from the boogeyman immigrants. Oh, and it just happens to have a eugenicist founder with ties to multiple white supremacist organizations. And with this increased attention on Washington and lobbying Congress came a number of immigration reform bills throughout the 80s and 90s. The Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986 gave amnesty to certain groups of illegal immigrants and penalties for employers who hired illegal immigrants, but did not create a way for low-wage migrants from Latin America to enter and work lawfully. So even though the act boosted the number of Border Patrol agents, illegal immigration continued to increase. The Immigration Act of 1990 increased the number of green cards issued in order to attempt to attract skilled immigrant workers. Still, illegal immigration continued to climb. The Clinton administration attempted to reduce this illegal immigration via border operations such as Operation Hold the Line in 1993 and Operation Gatekeeper in 1994. Despite this, the illegal immigrant population in the U.S. rose from 3.5 million in 1990 to 5.7 million in 1995. By 1997, the number of Border Patrol agents had doubled in the last decade, and this did nothing to slow illegal immigration. It simply made the process more expensive and dangerous for immigrants who were more inclined to use and pay high fees to smugglers. And all of that was before we entered the current iteration of immigration laws in this country that were created in the wake of 9/11. Year after year, decade after decade, century after century, since colonizers first set foot on U.S. soil, those colonizers have been intent on controlling who can and cannot enter and stay here. The outwardly racist eugenicist language has been changed to slightly more respectable claims about caring about terrorists and criminals, though especially under the Trump administration, this respectability has gone away to where now we're back to being pretty comfortable with equating IQ levels and behavior here with ethnicity and race, but it's all fruit from the same poisonous tree. There have been glimpses throughout history of what it might look like if we divested from the criminalization of immigration by instead providing more pathways for people to enter legitimately, like aspects of the Bracero program or like DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which granted protection for undocumented.
Here's another thing that's nice too. If we had more ways for you to get here legally, like the DACA shit that's fucking foregone. These people should just be citizens. If for no other fucking reason, because we wasted so much money publicly educating them. Why the fuck would you take somebody in their biggest fiscal drain years, educate these motherfuckers through our publicly paid for schooling systems, and then ship them to another fucking country? Why would you send a U.S. educated child to another country for free? That's crazy. At least sell them as slaves. Jesus. Like, if you could make the illegals that could be citizens because they work here, they don't have criminal record, whatever, so you could put them on a path to citizen. Imagine how much more targeted and brutal, if that is what fucking gets the noggin jogging or whatever, or gets the growing going, okay? If that's what really gets your rocks off, right? Imagine how much more targeted you could be by getting rid of this whole class of people that you don't have to worry about now. Like, okay, all the berry pickers, all the roofers, all the whatever the fuck else, these guys they're on their path to citizenship or at least green cards, and we can say no to citizenship for them, maybe their kids, but just green cards. Now we can focus on the other people that didn't take those paths. Like, you'd have such a smaller subset of people to do immigration enforcement against.
Documented minors during the Obama administration. But those efforts have been met with sweeping backlash from people who believe their livelihoods and way of life are threatened because of the changing demographics of the nation. They were also passed by administrations who, on the one hand, claimed progressive ideals regarding immigration, but then turned around and enforced harsh immigration policies. More people were deported under Obama than under any other previous president in history. But time and again, we also see that bans on immigration don't work. People will still immigrate. They will just do so illegally instead of legally. But no one prefers to be an illegal immigrant versus entering through legal pathways. But when you make that impossible and then also exploit the shit out of all neighboring countries and accumulate unprecedented levels of wealth and power for yourself in the process, yeah, people are going to be desperate and they're going to try to figure out a way to immigrate to where all of those resources and all that wealth went. And even if border crossings do go down because people are afraid, as is happening right now, Trump's policies absolutely have a deterrent factor for sure. The level of chaos and wasted taxpayer dollars needed to create a high enough level of fear to make immigrants stay away is a higher price than I think a lot of taxpaying Americans would be willing to pay if they realize the full extent of the cost of this militarized style of immigration enforcement. When it's in your face and leading to the deaths of people in the streets, then perhaps the nation stands up and realizes we've gone too far. But the costs are so much more widespread than just the explosive violence that makes the nightly news. Even just looking at the budget for ICE indicates the cost of attempting to scare the world into staying away. In 2004, ICE's budget was $3.5 billion. By 2018, it was $7.1 billion. Today, ICE's budget is $85 billion, making it the highest funded U.S. law enforcement agency in the country.
I wonder where that stands in totality of all of all the things we fund in the U.S. Like, get rid of the whole DOD. Let's see, U.S. discretionary spending budget. This is for fiscal year 2024, but administration. What did she say? Did she say 84 billion? That's an unbelievable amount of money.
This budget is $85 billion, making.
Is that really just for 1 year? I don't know if I've ever just sat with that figure before. $85 billion. We spent $134 billion on certain veterans benefits, $130 billion on transportation, $121 billion on education, training, employment, and social services, $100 billion on health-related stuff, and then after that, it's administration of justice, international affairs. These are less than that, less than $85 billion. What is the NASA funding? So is it 20? Somebody said 20 billion. Is it really even that high? The fiscal year 2025 was 7.33 billion. Fiscal year 2026, 7.25 billion. We're spending 10 times as much money trying to send people back to Mexico than we are trying to send people to fucking Mars. How unbelievable. Whatever. I don't care.
2018, it was $7.1 billion. Today, ICE's budget is $85 billion, making it the...
Yeah, hold on. I need to look at it. Military spending, every country on the planet. It's bigger than it is, isn't it? So we've got the US, China, Russia, and then it's basically up there with, if we say $80 billion, Germany spends 88.5, India spends 86.1, the UK is 82 billion, Saudi Arabia, this is fake, I don't believe this. It would be like we're at 85, it would be the 6th most well-funded military on the planet. It's not really 85 billion a year, right? That must have been an increase over 5 or 10 years or something, right? ICE funding. It's through 2029 per year. Two-thirds of ISIS fund. Hold on. There's no way. The so-called One Big Bill allocates more than 170 billion over 4 years. This is 4 years for border and interior enforcement. With a stated goal of deporting 1 million immigrants each year. That sucks. They said 30 million came in. We're doing 170 billion over 4 years to get rid of 4 million of them? The 4-year supplemental was 180 billion over 4 years. It's 170. Half was front-loaded and added to the existing 10 billion per year. Half was front-loaded, as in they spent a lot of this right away. Because that would be 85 billion, or half would be 85 divided by 2, and then plus 10 for each. So like 50, 60 billion. That's an insane amount of money. This is a lot of money. God damn. And it's not even like how much are we? Well, 4 million immigrants for $170 billion. Where's the trade deal guy? 170 by 4 is what, 42.5? Is that $42,500 per immigrant? Is that right? Over $40,000 per illegal immigrant? That's great. And we're only paying them $1,000 to self-deport? We should just have offered $10,000 to self-deport. It'd be cheaper than this. Holy shit. There's like creepy bad stuff that's like movie stuff here. And I don't think they're even competent enough to do it. But imagine getting this. Hold on. Fuck me. Hold on. I just didn't care because I thought, oh, this is stupid. Hold on. How many Democrats voted for this fucking bill? Who the fuck voted for that? Hold on. I'm sorry. On the scale, like just understanding the scale of money and things, that's a lot of money. $170 billion on somebody that wanted to cut spending? Also, and you're doing it, by the way, by cutting, whether you like them or hate them, even illegal immigrants are economic boons and are generally net economic contributors to your state budgets and your local budgets and your federal budget. Whether you like it or not, that's just true. Those are hard facts. Sorry, the Cato just did a huge thing on this, but like it's just nobody seriously contests that. These are just hard facts. Like this, the spooky thing is you're getting this amount of money in a bill, so you have guaranteed funding for your own little fucking Gestapo, for your own little fucking secret police force. That's the scary, spooky, bad thing. I can't believe that this was. Hold on. I just don't remember at the time. Who voted for one big beautiful bill? Democrat. Which one? Who voted? I know Fetterman's going to be on there. He just always is. I'm just kidding. Maybe not. It's pronounced Gestapo. Cringe. How could you have ever? I feel like if I would have been more just aware at the time, I don't even know what I was doing. I probably just didn't give a fuck because fuck politics. Or I was getting sued by a crazy person. The idea that you would cut Medicaid, I guess we shut down the government over this, that you would cut medical spending in the face of such an unfathomable budget increase for ICE is fucking crazy. No Dems voted for this? Were they able to get... No, there's no way it could have passed the Senate, right? Didn't you need at least... Oh, no, because it's like a budget... It's like a budget reconciliation thing or whatever, huh? So you don't actually need 51-50. Does that mean it had to have been a 50-50 vote with Vance tiebreaker? Passed the House 215 to 214. Jesus. Destiny is an acronym. It translated, it stands for Secret State Police Gestapo. That doesn't make any sense. Secret State, that would be Sestapo, idiot. Got him. They had to do cutouts for Alaska. Man, look at that both sides government there. Look at the both sides for supporting ICE and shit, guys. I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like Republicans and Democrats are basically equal. Okay.
The highest funded U.S. law enforcement agency in the country. Meanwhile, immigration courts are completely overwhelmed, and the backlog means that people who are attempting to enter through legal means are in a holding pattern that for a long time meant that they could stay while their proceedings play out, but under the...
In German, if you have an S before either T or a P, it's... I know, that's why you technically it's like Einstein. If you want to be an asshole, you say it that way.
Attempting to enter through legal means are in a holding pattern that for a long time meant that they could stay while their proceedings play out, but under the current Trump regime, anyone in the country legally awaiting their immigration court proceedings have been characterized as fugitives from the law, even though they are following every law. It does not make sense to be throwing this much money at what is essentially whack-a-mole, but with an excessively large hammer, when it's been proven time and again that providing support for...
Can you explain why they didn't need any number of Democrats to vote yes? You should ask IRI because he knows processes better than this. But so there's like a cringe kind of weird thing, I think, where for the government... in order to pass legislation, you need like a majority. I think you need like a majority in the House and a supermajority in the Senate if you want to pass legislation. So let's say I want to pass a bill saying, I think that ICE should have $80 billion more dollars. Okay? 80 billion more. I'm going to call it the FICE bill for Fund ICE. Okay? Well, I think I would need a simple majority in the House, and then I would need 60 votes in the Senate. Okay? But that's really cringe. However, now we have to fund the government, every year or however long they do their continuing resolution for, we have to fund the government. What if instead of passing a whole new bill and the funding bills, I believe only need a simple majority in the House and the Senate. What if instead of having to pass a whole new fucking fuck-ass bill for this, what if we just say, what about in our current budget? What if we just up the budget of ICE by like $80 billion? So now some people are like, well, that seems kind of bullshit. And other people are like, well, no. That's just like, we're just talking about like the, what's it called? Budget reconciliation. We're trying to make the budget work. That only needs a simple majority, or at least it doesn't need, there's no filibuster that applies basically. So in the Senate, in the Senate you have the filibuster, which means you need 60 votes normally, but for budget reconciliation, which I think the one big beautiful bill, I think counts as that, right? Is it budget reconciliation? Just because it's like a budgetary thing and you're not passing a new law or anything like that, it's not a filibusterable thing. So you just need a simple majority for that basically. Even though, I think in effect, it kind of does feel like anything. Somebody said it does. Wait, am I wrong on that? Or it did? Well, I mean, they passed it with 51 votes, so clearly whatever is not, they don't. So
for immigration services, including more personnel and funding for processing immigration requests and immigration court proceedings, and more legal pathways to entry, pathways that allow people who want to work and live here to come and do so, that is far more effective and less costly than what we are currently doing. But the reality is that I think, honestly, humans are too fucking stupid to figure that out. We are too innately fearful of the unknown. So many of us succumb to our basest instincts to fear people who look different than us. And centuries of history in the US bear that out. So while it would be really swell if Congress passed a bill defunding ICE tomorrow and clawing back that $85 billion of taxpayer money that's been allocated to it, there's so much more work to do.
And think about how much of the funding, did we remove all of the extra funding that Biden had gotten for the IRS? Did all of that extra funding get clawed back? Which is a revenue generating, one of the only revenue generating parts of the US government.
Be done when it comes to immigration reform. And listen, a world without borders is, I think, a topic that is too large for this video. But the way that the world is currently set up, a world with borders, the reality is that every country has a vested interest in ensuring that people who want to do bad things in their country be kept out. I can accept that. Again, we're not talking about...
Wait, they did? Yeah. IRS funding, Biden, Trump. I'm pretty sure they clawed back either most or all of it, no? And like this came as an actual fucking piece of legislation. It was part of the Inflation Reduction Act. It wasn't just a budget reconciliation. It was an actual piece of legislation. It has been significantly reduced and restructured under the Trump admin. Congress, with input from the Cook administration, cut the IRA funding to $37.6 billion by March 2025, with further cuts proposed to reduce the agency's budget by 20% or more for fiscal year 2026. The IRS is currently operating under a $1.1 billion funding cut as of early 20. What is the IRS budget? Fiscal year 2025. It's only around $10 billion. And they got an annual budget I don't understand how this budget appropriation things work. Why is it like half the number of what they actually use? Maybe it's like $20 billion. I saw that in the other thing. It would be like the budget request is like some $2 billion and then the actual fiscal year is like $4 billion. But this says for 12 billion, 12 billion, 12 billion. I like how we can't increase. I like how everybody hates the IRS so much. We're so cucked. Did you see that Trump is suing the IRS for $10 billion too? I can't talk about that. Don't ask me that fucking question because I'm gonna get banned. I'm probably arrested if I talk about that.
Changing the world order, getting rid of borders, getting rid of the carceral state, criminal justice reform, etc. Those are bigger discussions. I'm talking about the practicality today of abolishing ICE. First of all, of course, there's no political will to do so. Even with a few Republicans calling for it and growing calls from Democrats, Republicans control the House and the Senate and the White House, and the far right is salivating for more blood. A couple murders in the streets didn't make people realize the error of their ways. If anything, they've had a smell of blood and now they want more. White nationalism is an inherently violent, hateful ideology. Anyone who adheres to it believes that Renee Good and Alex Preddy got what they deserved, because anyone who stands in the way or doesn't agree with the fight to preserve white superiority is just as subhuman as the non-white.
There's no problem if he donates it, right? Yes, there is a huge problem. What do you mean? No, fuck you. You killed USAID. Now you want to fucking steal $10 billion? Actual steal money? You're stealing enough through all your other weirdo, creepy fucking ways of profiting from the fucking White House. God, I hate this. I hate Trump.
Whites that they despise. Stephen Miller isn't up at night wringing his hands in guilt. If ICE were defunded, its enforcement mechanisms would likely just be transferred to other agencies to oversee the sprawling immigration detention facilities, arresting people, etc. Defunding ICE doesn't make sense without a comprehensive package of bills reforming our immigration system. Bills that provide greater pathways for people to legally enter and work here, greater funding for the processing of those legal immigration applications and cases, along with the scaling back of the criminalization and militarization of the immigration system.
Convicted of trafficking a Schedule I controlled substance. What does that even mean? I'm curious what you need for a trafficking charge. Like if I gave my bottle of Vyvanse, amphetamines are, oh no, they're not Schedule I. Oh, actually, wait, I'm sorry. If I gave a bunch of weed to a guy and he drove it to a different state, does that count as trafficking, or does trafficking have to become internationally? Weed is no longer Schedule I now. Oh, did they reclassify weed? Somebody said this is all bullshit. I don't know where you're getting that from, though. Hold on. Bro, that hearing we read through this morning? Oh, my God. Bye, Pacer. Hold on. Please choose a court. I just want to, just give me the document. Continue. View document. Okay, the indictment for Julio Alvarez and Ishmael Hernandez. Holy shit. Wait a second. Dan? What? Who? Hold on. Who are some of these people? What the fuck? Oh, he did country of origin Israel. Top left is Epstein. What? This red shirt guy? Wait, not even close. Am I face blind? Are you face blind? I don't know. Fucking it's AI Dan. Wait, there are share buttons? Why the fuck? Oh, why the fuck? Click X and see the pre-written script. DHS highlights the worst of the worst criminal alien arrests by ICE. Fuck, that's a good meme. I'm not going to tweet it, Dan. That is a good meme, though. Change that into Daniel's. Okay, I'm not going to do it. Oh, that's a good-ass meme. Oh, I already got this. Okay. What does this indictment say? Knowingly and intentionally combine, conspire, confederate, agree, and have a tacit understanding with each other and other persons known and unknown to the grand jury to knowingly and intentionally distribute and possess the intent to distribute 1 kilogram or more of a mixture and substance containing a detectable amount of heroin, a Schedule I controlled substance, and 500 grams or more of cocaine, a Schedule II controlled substance, and 50 grams or more of a mixture and substance containing a detectable amount of methamphetamine, a Schedule II controlled substance. Count 1, 2, 3. Count 4. All the distribution stuff. Wait, why? Okay, wait. So why did somebody say this was fake? That was the indictment. Order granting. Well, there was a motion to dismiss, and it was granted in 3 weeks. Must be nice. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Scroll to the bottom. Scroll to the bottom of the indictment. Hold on. Oh my God. I don't know how to. February 5th. I'm too retarded for Pacer. I don't know why I even fucking pay for this shit. I don't know how to use this. I'm fucking retarded. I can't find it. Hold on. Let me just buy it again, like an actual fucking retard. There better be something on the bottom to scroll to. Continue. View document. What did you... Why am I scrolling to the bottom? Who said scroll to the bottom? What, I didn't say in the document? Oh my god, kill yourself in a video game. Okay. The motion to dismiss was granted. Pursuant to Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure 48A and for good cause shown by... as the motion for the U.S. of America, it's hereby ordered that the indictment is dismissed with prejudice. Okay. Defendant Carlos Siga shall be released from federal custody without undue delay. Defendant Julio Noyola Campos shall remain in federal custody pursuant to his conviction in U.S. v. Noyola Campos and other case. It is further ordered that the U.S. is relieved from any obligation to make further disclosure in this case, including but not limited to... Okay, got dismissed. Now, why? Okay, what am I reading this for? What does this matter for? If it got dismissed, why are they claiming it's the reason for removal? Oh. Well, because they always do arrests or whatever, indictments. They never do convictions. They don't give a fuck about that. Pursuant to the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure 48A, the United States of America, by and through the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of North Carolina, moves to dismiss with prejudice the indictments in this case. The undersigned recently became aware of additional materials that may be subject to the disclosure requirements of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure 16 and 26.2. North Carolina. In light of that, the U.S. has determined that moving to dismiss the indictment against both defendants and with prejudice is in the interest of justice in the unique circumstances of this case. Because the U.S. is dismissing the indictment in its entirety and with prejudice, the government should also be relieved of any obligation to disclose the newly discovered material to defense counsel, including specifically any obligations arising under Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure 16 and 26.2 and North Carolina Rules of Professional Conduct 3.8d. Such disclosure is now moot. So what happened? Why did they... What does that mean? What were they required to disclose? North Carolina. 3.8d. After reasonably diligent inquiry, make timely disclosure to the defense of all evidence or information required to be disclosed by applicable law, rules of procedure, or court opinions, including all evidence or information known to the prosecutor that tends to negate the guilt of the accused or mitigates the offense, and in connection with sentencing, disclose to the defense and to the tribunal all unprivileged mitigating information known to the prosecutor, except when the prosecutor is relieved of this responsibility by a protective order of the tribunal. So they basically found shit exonerating them, and so they want to dismiss the case with prejudice? Okay. But they don't have to disclose it to them? That's base, I guess. Oh, and this was the guy... Okay, I understand more why you... But this guy was still arrested for a different case, no? Because when they dismissed it, they only... I would never go through all of these because fuck that, but... In 2020, I think he got caught for a gun charge. Because there's another case related to United States v. Noyola Campos. Number 5. Can I find this? North Carolina. Can you find this other case if I give you the thing? Here. He had already re-entered twice at this point, so he entered again, I guess. But it seems like this controlled substance, the controlled substance thing is just made up. It wouldn't surprise me if this website was put together and it sucks ass. Okay, stop wasting my time on dumb shit. We have to finish our video.
I was alive when 9/11 happened. Terrorism is real. The US has many enemies. There are absolutely threats that I personally am interested in having people attempting to thwart. Threats that are likely only increasing under Trump's watch because he's alienated us from the world and increased our list of enemies. The fact that we've conflated combating terrorism with the day-to-day management of immigration in this country creates a whole host of problems that could be avoided if we had a more humane system to handle everything except for the few actual cases of terrorism, not the made-up cases where Trump just calls everyone who's brown or defends immigrants a domestic terrorist. And given the direction that this world is taking, where fear of brown people and anti-immigrant sentiment is growing, where all of our resources are being accumulated in the hands of a few billionaires while the throngs of us have to fight over scraps so any outsider is deemed an existential threat, I don't see the level of reform needed to truly create the change that I think people calling for the abolition of ICE are envisioning. I don't see that as possible. A humane system that sees immigrants as humans, that has the resources to promptly process immigration requests, that gives immigrants due process, that doesn't hold them in cells and put children in cages or brutalize all of us on the streets. I don't see the political will for that anytime soon. So what do? Well, this is a larger question of larger global systems and trends that are bigger than you or me. It depends on major policy changes at home as well as abroad. These things don't happen overnight. I also don't think that calling for the abolition of ICE is like the wrong thing or you're stupid if you're calling for it. If ICE had fewer resources to put armed masked men in our streets, I think we would all probably be better for it. It could be a short-term solution to lowering the temperature in this country, which is currently boiling over. But I worry that other agencies within DHS would just pick up where ICE left off. I'm just saying I dream bigger than just abolishing ICE. I dream of a humane and well-functioning immigration system that, aside from the statistically minuscule number of actual criminals attempting to come in or people who want to do crimes here, aside from managing them, the system is focused on providing legal pathways and has the fiscal resources to process the applications quickly. A system that treats immigrants like humans. That will take a very long time to happen. Representative Delia Ramirez of Illinois has been calling for defunding all of DHS. Again, I think that defunding would need to come with additional laws like what I've already spoken about. But Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, proving once again their inability to meet the moment with any form of resistance, have instead advocated for reforming ICE with such brilliant fucking ideas as giving them more funding for more body cams and more training. As Representative Ramirez noted, however, the officer who shot Alex worked for DHS for 8 years. The officer who shot Renee worked for DHS for over 10 years. Both are considered highly trained. The problem isn't training. DHS was built to violate our rights and has been empowered to act with impunity. So again, the political will just isn't there, and it probably won't be there even if somehow Democrats retake Congress in the midterms. This will take a long time, including gutting our current ineffective lawmakers on both sides of the aisle to create any sort of true reforms. So if this is something you're passionate about, I encourage you to get involved in immigrants' rights organizations that are pushing for policy changes at this level. You could go to law school and study immigration law. Donate your money to the organizations that are pushing for this type of holistic policy change. And even if this isn't a long-term passion of yours, there's obviously immediate need, and you can give your time and money and energy to create a little pocket of resistance by living the values you wish our immigration system espoused. Whether that's giving rides to your neighbors who are afraid to leave their homes, delivering them groceries, donating to local immigration organizations, attending anti-ICE protests, and as always, meeting and connecting with your neighbors, especially your immigrant neighbors who are living through fucking hell right now. The government controls the immigration system and has a huge impact on our lives day to day, but you are still a human with free will. Use it to build a better world than the trash heap this government has handed to us. If you'd like to support my work, consider joining here on YouTube by clicking the big join button down below or supporting me over on Patreon, patreon.com/Legion Miller, where you get access to all these episodes completely ad-free. Thank you to my multi-platinum patrons, Christopher Cohen, Evan Friedley, Mark, Sarah Shelby, Art, David, Latranger Lucas, Thomas Johnson, and Tay. Your generosity makes this channel what it is, so thank you. And if you liked this episode, you'll like my episode from Monday.